Guys, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Horror34. I'm here today to talk about the type genus of the Chasmosaurinae family known as Chasmosaurus. So basically, let's jump right into it. So Chasmosaurus basically means open lizard and refers to the actual openings in the skull, which are made up of the frill bones, so like the parietals and the squamosal and stuff like that. So yeah, but this is a very strange looking dinosaur. Obviously, it's even a stranger looking ceratopsian in my opinion, because the two species that are valid currently vary very differently. So I'm going to get into stuff like that now. Now, Chasmosaurus lived from 76.5 to 75.5 million years ago in the dinosaur park formation of the Dinosaur Provincial Park of Alberta, Canada. There are two species currently known, currently valid as well. There's Chasmosaurus russellii and Chasmosaurus bellii. Chasmosaurus russellii lived in the lower beds of the dinosaur park formation, while bellii lived in the middle to upper beds of the park formation. As a species, as well as a genus, it was around 4.3 to 4.8 meters long, so 16 foot at maximum, and then weighed around 2 tons or 2.2 short tons, which is quite a large animal. And obviously, it's been referred to and actually starred in Planet Dinosaur with the Daspletosaurus, and it was referred to as basically a rhino-sized behemoth, and they weren't wrong with that. I mean, it's a pretty good-looking rhino-sized animal, and it's got some pretty odd variation between the two species, which is pretty peculiar. So let's go into the history of Chasmosaurus. So first of all, Chasmosaurus was discovered by Lawrence Morris Lambie in 1898, and he discovered the first remains of the holotype known as NMC491 at Berry Creek, and he only found a parietal bone, which is from the frill. He placed it into the genus known as Monoclonius, and he named it Monoclonius bellii in order to honour Walter Bell. Though in 1913, Charles Sternberg and his sons actually found several more complete specimens of this species from the middle of the Dinosaur Park formation in Alberta, Canada. Then in 1914, January time, Lambie actually named it Protorosaurus because he suggested it might have been an ancestor to Torosaurus. However, that name was already preoccupied by a Permian reptile. Then Lambie created the replacement name of Chasmosaurus in February of 1914. Now, he assigned a paratype specimen in NMC2245. Which was found by the Sternbergs in 1913 and consisted of a really complete specimen as well as a key feature, skin impressions. And that's quite interesting about the actual animal, how they found basically a second specimen. Well, they found a few more specimens and they managed to find basically skin impressions, which is really cool. Now, there were several species actually assigned to Chasmosaurus bellii, but in later years, they've actually found this is morphological variation between the individuals. So basically, the invalid species are Chasmosaurus cayseni, which was Mojoceratops, and has now been currently assigned as Chasmosaurus species. It was going to be assigned as Chasmosaurus russellii, but it's obviously not done that. Chasmosaurus canadensis which was actually Eoceratops, but that's in the same problem as Mojoceratops because it's been considered as a Chasmosaurus species. Chasmosaurus brevirostris was actually a Chasmosaurus bellii specimen, and then there's one called Chasmosaurus mauryscalensis, and that's actually Aguceratops basically. And then there was also Chasmosaurus ivanensis, which was actually a Vagaceratops specimen pretty much. So a lot of these species have actually just been reassigned to other genera and also the same species as other Chasmosaurus species, which shows that this animal was actually genetically quite wide, because a large amount of individual variation shows that the genetics of this animal was quite diverse, which is impressive for an animal that only lived in one location. In 1987, Gregory S. Paul actually renamed Pentaceratops sternbergi as Chasmosaurus sternbergi, but this hasn't really been accepted. In 2000, a man by the name of George Olszewski actually renamed Monoclonius recurvicornis into Chasmosaurus recurvicornis, but it's very little material and it's been now considered a numen dubium. Chasmosaurus russellii is considered the oldest of the two because it's found in the lower beds of the Dinosaur Park Formation. Now, Chasmosaurus bellii is actually the youngest of the species and actually has a unique set of traits that actually distinguish it from russellii. Now, bellii is actually 4.8 meters long and weighed around 2 tons. While Chasmosaurus russellii was actually 4.3 meters long and weighed about 1.5 tons. Now, bellii is actually unique for having a V-shaped rear end of the frill, and additionally, it doesn't actually have the longer nasal horn and longer brow horns that actually russellii is known for. So basically, as you can see here with Chasmosaurus russellii, which is actually the older species, basically it had the longer nasal and brow horns, and the unique thing about the brow horns is that they actually curved backwards, and also the rear end of the frill is actually U-shaped instead of being V-shaped, and that's basically what distinguishes it from its basically younger species, Chasmosaurus bellii. Chasmosaurus is set apart from other chasmosaurians because of some unique features, such as basically it has 6 to 9 episquamosals on its frill, and it has 2 larger osteoderms basically on the frill corners, and that's basically the main features that actually distinguish it from other chasmosaurians right now. Now, this is the skin impression of the specimen known as NMC2245, and what these actual skin impressions show is that the larger scales were actually around 5.5 centimeters in basically diameter, and they were distance around 5 to 10 centimeters apart from each other, and they were generally hexagonal or pentagonal in shape, and also they had wrinkles and grooves on them. The smaller scales are in a similar situation, but obviously they're more closely knit together and they're a lot smaller, obviously, and that shows how unique the skin of Chasmosaurians were actually like from other animals and other ceratopsians, because they've actually found this also in Triceratops, which is a later genus of ceratops. Now, at the time when Chasmosaurus was alive, it would have actually lived on the east coast of Laramidia. There's some debate on the defense of Chasmosaurus, as the horns are seen as too short and not well developed enough to be for defense, and also it's not a very large Chasmosaurian. It's actually quite small, so it wouldn't have actually been able to stand up to most predators. But however, there's been some controversy and some debate on whether the actual beak of Chasmosaurus was used as defense. But I don't really sit well with that, because I'd see the beak being a lot sharper than it is, especially with the younger species, because what you find with russellii is that it has the hooked beak, but then you've got bellii, which has a more flattened beak in my opinion, basically, so that doesn't show much evolutionary advantage that the beak has for defense. The frill may have been used for thermoregulation, though that's really not looking good for people, because I would have seen it more as a display, and a lot of people actually say it's for display. There is some speculated sexual dimorphism in them. Some actually speculate that Chasmosaurus females had shorter horns while the males had longer horns. It's even been seen in a large female specimen known as NMC2280, and then there was the other specimen, which was a male, which was actually the one with the skin impressions, was NMC2245. And right now there's not enough proof to decipher that it's actually sexual dimorphism, but it's a potential. It is potentially there. Now, a cool thing actually happened recently. They actually found a juvenile Chasmosaurus bellii, and it was a 5-foot long individual and was only 3 years old. And what actually told is actually the skull proportions are actually shorter in the youngsters than it is the adults, and additionally the frill is actually uniquely narrow in juveniles, and that's a key feature they actually found in basically showing the ontogeny of this actual genus. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you had a great holidays, because I did, definitely, if you've seen my videos. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you later. Bye bye.